Hi, I'm Neil, and this is Neil's Meals. I'm expecting an incoming raid, so we'll see how that goes. What am I going to make tonight? This looks more. Oh, thank you, J Fries. I appreciate it. I always know that I have at least a little bit of an audience on Saturday. Hey, everybody, Evil Bud, Dimok. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Neil. This is Neil's Meals. And I'm going to make, hey Merrick, some attempt at beef stew. Yeah, the kitchen does need to be packed up, or at least have, a lot of it removed. We're going to be removing a lot. So in the interest of time, I have two minds about how I might do this. And I have no, hey Lemon Square and Rock Blackhorn. I have one of two minds of how I want to do this. With a beef stew, you can cook it in a slow cooker. That obviously takes a lot of time that I don't have right now. You can cook it on the stovetop. The stovetop is decently quick, but it takes about an hour and a half. And you can do it in the oven. The oven takes a little longer than the stove, but it yields a great result because you can control the temperature better. And you can do it in a pressure cooker. And a pressure cooker is the fastest method, and so that's what I think I'm going to do today. So I have a commercial electric pressure cooker. And I guess, if I were on TV, I would turn this around so you could see the display, but I really need to see the display so I know what I'm doing. All right. So we'll take this and place that little tune. If you have one of these, you know that little tune. And we're going to set it on its saute function. And I'm going to set it close to high. All right. And then I'm going to get some meat out of the refrigerator. I have 2 pounds here, but I may just do 1. This is stew meat. One of them is leaked. That's always fun. What we need to do here, I'll get a plate. I'm going to set that back there a little bit. We also want to put some fat in there, and I'm going to take this chance to use this bacon grease I've been saving. That's about a tablespoon. You could use, you wouldn't want to use butter, but you could use, you could use oil. You could use shortening. Probably oil was what most people would go to. But I happen to have this, and it tends to do well at a high temperature. Problem is getting it off the spoon. So I'm just holding the spoon on the bottom so it melts. That's got most of it. All right. So we've got some fat in there. We're going to take, the reason I got this plate, thank you, Arcade Castle, I am feeling better. I don't know if I have like a cold or if it's just allergies. It's just like I've been congested. I'm gonna put some paper towels on this. I've been congested and it's kind of just a lot of pressure in my head. So I put some paper towels on this because I want to dry this meat off. I think we used those scissors earlier. Oh no, they're in the dishwasher. Hold on a second. I'm a little discombobulated today because this wasn't super planned. Sometimes I plan these pretty well, and sometimes, well, I don't. Because I hadn't decided to do exactly what I'm doing until a few minutes ago. Well, the reason that you want to dry the meat off, right, is so that it can sear. It helps with the browning. All right. So we're going to take this meat out. It's kind of leaked, and so it's going to drip a little bit. But we're going to take this and push it out of this packaging. If it'll come out. There we go. Put this in the trash. I got it on my finger anyway, so. All right, so we'll separate it out and kind of dry it off a little bit. Okay. So it looks like some kind of like chuck or something, and that's fine. That's what we want. I think I'm just going to do 1 pound here. I think I'll save the other pound for something else. All right. Yeah, we did add quotes. Thank you for your help with that. All right. So we've got the meat here. It smells like bacon in here because of that bacon fat. I'm going to just put this back in the refrigerator for now. All right. I'm going to wash my hands. If you handle raw meat, wash your hands. All right. So, oh, it's up to heating temperature, and that's good. That's where we want it to be. So we're going to add some salt to this meat. And this is about, I don't know, a teaspoon of kosher salt. And we're going to throw that in the bottom of this thing. Here, I'll pull this up so y'all can see it some. All right, so we're going to take this meat that we've dried and salted and put it in there to simmer. We're going to brown it. I've just got a silicone spoon here. I'm going to sort of distribute it around the pan. You just kind of want to brown it as much as you can. Because one thing about a pressure cooker is you won't get browning. And while that's going, I'm going to, I'll put that up there. I'm going to get some of the vegetables I'll need and clean those up. that one. I'll take that one. That looks a little better. All right, let me just wash the celery off. Then I have to do some carrots. We stir this around a little. You don't want it to stay in one place for too long. All right. This I'm going to get rid of. This is not what I want here. We'll just take that and set that over here. And I've got some carrots. All right. Now the carrots I'm going to scrub because I'm not going to peel them. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera over here, so you don't see me doing it. All right, last carrot. Hope y'all are all doing well. This is just some of the work you have to do sometimes when you're cooking, and this is, this is a good example of trying to do something quickly. Just using your little pockets of time. All right. Get a board here. That's not the one I want. I'll use this one. Right. So I've got a board here. Starting to get some good color in the pan, and that's good. Okay. Now, you don't want this stuff to be too small when you're cutting it. But you want it. I don't know. There are two minds. There's some people who would eat this with a knife and fork if it's pretty thick. And there's some people who would, I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut it oblique and cut it into relatively small pieces, but they would fit on a spoon. Sorry if this is too loud. Celery isn't really common in this kind of dish, but I think it adds something. It tastes fine, and if you don't like it, you can I make it big enough so you can not, do it. You don't want this to go on for super long. You're not trying to cook the meat through here. All right, this is this plate that I used earlier, but since we're going to put this in, we're going to take this out so we can put the vegetables in and cook those a little bit. All right. So we have a little fat left in there. That might be enough. So I'm going to put these celery in here. And then we'll do these carrots. And for the carrots, I'm going to do what they call an oblique, which is where you turn it 90 degrees and then it falls off the board. No, that's just a bias cut. All right, I'll do bias cuts. All right, we got some carrots in there. And then we need an onion. All right, so I got two little yellow onions. So if you're ever cooking like this, and you see that your fond is starting to blacken, you want to stop that. These vegetables don't have enough water. So I'm just going to put a little water in there and sort of deglaze it. And that way you save that flavor without it being, you know, burned on the bottom, making the dish bitter. So we'll just put that little bit of water in there. Then I'll work on these onions. All right, so how do I want to do this? Maybe I'll cut through. That's probably not enough, but what I think I'll do, the problem with an onion is you kind of want it to stay together. Maybe I'll peel one thing off here. All right. I'm going to take a page out of my mom's book. She would often leave them whole. So that's what I'm going to do. This one doesn't look as well. We'll see what we can do with it. Ooh, we don't want that. Let's cut that off. All right, so we're going to put this one in too. We want the flavor of the onion, but I don't want the onion to just fall apart. And it'll cut, and I can put it, I can put it back in later. The carrot can go in there. All right. So we've cut the carrot. We're going to wait for this liquid to cook out a little bit. Thank you, Rhino Assault. That's so kind of you. Or no. Yes. Sorry, I misunderstood because I looked up and then I saw they've gifted. I saw something about Fire Dancer. Oh, okay. I see. Sorry, that was my error. Thank you so much, Rhino Assault. Alright. So this is starting to smell good. I'm going to put the meat back in here. And you want to put any of the accumulated juices in. And then this is the problem with doing this, right? I put a little too much water in, and what I would normally do right now is stir in some flour, but once it hits that water, it's just going to gelatinize. Oh, thank you for the bits, Evil Bud. So I think what I'll do here is I'll just put the liquids in that the seasonings and liquids I would normally put in. So let me see what I've got. I definitely want that. I'll throw a little of that in. One of those. Do I have some cooking wine? I think I do. I may have used it all. Nope, there it is. Sorry, I'm just getting a few things out. So I'm going to go pretty simply in this, at least for me. Since this is sort of a new recipe, I need to kind of write down what I've been doing. All right, so this is starting to boil out, so that's good. I'm going to throw in some tomato paste. I think I have one of those open. No, I don't. But I've got one in the cabinet. All right. So we're going to give it some tomato paste. Not a lot. You don't want super tomato flavor. I'm going to put about that much in. So you can see, I just put in, a fair amount, but not a lot. You just want it to be kind of in the background. Let's stir that around. All right. The other thing I'm going to do, because now I know where it is, we redid our pantry, so I'm able to find things in my pantry. So this is what they call instant flour. Some people know it as Wondra. It's an instant flour. It doesn't clump as much. So I'm going to put some of this in to sort of thicken it while it cooks. All right. So all of that looks good. We're going to put in some more liquid. I'm going to stop the saute power. I'm going to put in some thyme. Probably about that much. A teaspoon maybe. I've got some rosemary. I'm going to do some rosemary. That's about a half a teaspoon. I'm going to do a couple bay leaves, because you know how I love a bay leaf. I'm not doing sage or parsley. I don't have any. And, well, I do have sage, but I wasn't going to do it. And I've got some... Oh, I just dumped it all over myself and the floor. Nice. Great. Throw in a little porcini mushroom powder. I'll have to wipe that up in a minute. All right. We're going to put in some wine. This is just Merlot. It's nothing fancy. Put about that much in. Some pepper. And this is Campbell's condensed beef consomme. And the reason I go for this is because it's basically a seasoning. Okay. I don't know, I'm not sure where this went. I've got so many things in here. I guess I'll just open the can. Normally I just use like a church key and punch it. This is what I'm using in lieu of stock. All right. Pour that in. Let's give this a stir. Now I have potatoes to go with this, but I don't know how well they would. They're not whole potatoes, so I don't think I'm going to put them in here with it. I think I'm going to cook them on the stove separate and just, layer this on it. And it looks pretty watery right now, and it may stay that way, but we can make it thicker. We have the power to do that. All right, so I'm going to wipe the edge because some of the schmutz has gotten up here on the where it seals, and you don't want that. All right, and we're going to pressure cook this for we're going to pressure cook this for 35 minutes. And the 35 minutes is kind of a guess, right? Because there are dozens of recipes to do this in an Instant Pot. Yeah, it is sort of a beef bourguignon sort of kick. I think that would have just been more red wine, though. And this is just sort of my American take on it. What can I clean that up with? I think I'm going to get a Swiffer cloth. I think I have some of those. Sometimes you make a mess in the kitchen and you've got to clean it up. Sorry about that. I just don't want to keep walking over this. So I got just a Swiffer cloth. That's got it up mostly. Good enough for now. Okay. All right. So we're going to let this go for the time it's set to, and then we're going to let the pressure naturally release, which means that you don't flip the thing and all the pressure steams right out. It's going to be the time it takes for it to cool naturally. All right. Just cleaning up a little bit. I don't know if this counts as recycling or anything, but if I have smelly stuff like pieces of an onion or something, I save old bags that are not in bad shape, and I put that stuff in so it doesn't smell up my trash. It's probably pretty earth angry, but that's what happens. All right, so that's that. I do have some potatoes here. This is 24 ounces, so this is 1.5 pounds of potatoes. They're little red potatoes, sort of bite-sized ones. I think what I might do is just cook them in a pot with some salted water, and then drain them and maybe butter them a bit and serve the stew over them. Sometimes I like to do, if I was doing this in any of the other ways that you can cook this, I would put them in. And I may not put them in until later, because potatoes can have a tendency to get sort of waterlogged. The stew makes them taste good, but you can just season them up and they're fine. And like some people would serve this stew over egg noodles, but I tend to like it with potatoes. It's starting to pressure up. Okay, so I cleaned up a little bit here. All right, so it just sealed. Let me put this stuff away. Put this back in here. You know, why this happened is because of the stupid zipper that doesn't work on this. I know I've talked about the zipper that doesn't work. If you're going to put a zipper on a bag, make sure it works. This one doesn't work either. So, some caveats here. I don't know that this Instant Pot will create the flavor that you get out of cooking something for, you know, a couple hours in a drier heat. I doubt it will be bad. All right. Just want to put my stuff back in the cabinet so I don't have to deal with it later. Got some flour and some thyme, some rosemary and the bay leaves, and the mushroom powder. And I did mushroom powder because I don't have mushrooms. I would probably have just used mushrooms. Oh, you're fine. All right. Put the spoon over here. And I don't think I'll cut those potatoes because they are so small. Some of them might be a little big, but I might just smash them a little. I may not butter them, actually. I may just use... the stew. All right. So I'm having to write this down because this has sort of been off the cuff. So I started with 1 pound of stew meat. And 1 tablespoon of fat. And I'll say salted for the meat. No, I'll say dried and salted. Let's see, I have, 3 or 4? Hey, Pass, thank you so much for subscribing for 4 months. I really appreciate it. Just got up from a nap. I hope it was restful. I had a nap this afternoon because I wasn't feeling great. So I had 3 ribs of celery, 2 small onions, and 4 medium carrots. Let's see, then I put in, so mix that all around. I put in, I don't know, let's say 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. 3 tablespoons of... Wow, I'm spelling wrong too. This is great. I'm sure y'all will love watching me do this. Of instant flour. And then we had like a teaspoon of thyme. Half a teaspoon of rosemary. teaspoon of mushroom powder. Obviously, if you don't have mushroom powder, you don't have to go out and find it. It's fine. I just thought it would add something. Or you could use actual mushrooms. Sometimes I do this with mushrooms. I just didn't get them basically because they weren't on sale. I had this meat and I had, this is basically me creating something because I have something I need to use, which is an important thing in cooking because a lot of us get into sort of a rut. I know I do it myself, and we do sort of where we build some kind of repertoire, and that's like the only thing we do with certain things. Like, let me think of something. So, like ground pork, I always do is that ground pork stir fry. Sometimes I put it into like that red sauce I made earlier on an earlier stream. Chicken, we have a tendency to, the only thing we do with chicken breasts is to marinate them and grill them. But, you can use them so many other ways. So it's fun to sort of challenge yourself to making something that will come out good. And honestly, I'm writing this recipe down, but all I did was put in things that I knew would taste good together. Chicken spaghetti. Chicken spaghetti is something I used to call it chicken cacciatore, but then I found out chicken cacciatore was something else. But it's basically just butter garlic ravioli. What was in the ravioli? Were they cheese or were they something else? You want to cook more than not at all? Well, that's kind of why it's good to sort of learn method. The thing that taught me to cook is actually reading. I learned some of it from my mom, and other people, but, sausage, cheese ravioli, and a butter garlic. That would be a good quick sauce. Yeah. Even simply dressed in butter or, some good olive oil. There's some people that would have put a Lipton onion soup mix in this, and that would have probably been good as well. Every pot roast my mother made had Lipton onion soup mix, and it was an eye of round roast, which is not a good pot roast because it's very lean, so it gets pretty dry. There are other ways to cook that it actually comes out well. Thyme, 2 bay leaves. If you can, you should get Turkish bay leaves. They have a better flavor than the California bay leaves. But whatever bay leaves you have access to is fine. And then I put in, I don't know, maybe 1.5 cups of wine, red wine. I don't know that you probably would want one that has a sort of more of medium flavor than one that is really heavy. And my convenience product that I used was beef consomme. I think there's 2 M's in consomme, and I just spelled that wrong. So I only really need to remember the ingredients because I can remember the method that I used. So I don't really need to write that down. So we're at 27 minutes, so this is cooking. And I'll probably start cooking those potatoes in a little bit. That's how I spelled it. I think it has 2 M's, though. I guess I could look at the can. Yes, it has 2 M's. And I used 1. So it's consomme. instead of consomme. And, I don't 100% know that this will be enough time for all of this. Oh, okay, Merrick. Well, I hope you feel better. You have a good night. Get some rest. Let's see. I feel like I should be doing something, but there's not much you can do sort of in this time. I guess what we could do is, let me rinse my knife off. All right. Let me wipe it off a little bit. And we'll take a look at these potatoes, make sure they're pretty good, and probably just, rinse them off. All right. I do like to go through the potatoes. Let's do this over here. All right. I do like to rinse off the potatoes because they do grow in the ground. All right, so I'm going to pour these out a little bit at a time. I think these are okay. I don't think these need to be smaller. And I plan to cook them to fork tender, so I think these should be fine. Really, I'm just looking for a bad one. Like, sometimes you get one that's a little spongy, and you don't want that. These all look pretty good. Hey, Mr. Mad Mothy. And I don't know what songs would be karaoke food songs. I don't have that answer. All right. So I didn't need my knife after all. All right, so I'm going to rinse these off. And I'll let those drain here. So, about the potatoes, I could have put them in here. I was afraid they would turn to complete mush in a pressure cooker for half an hour. I don't expect the carrots or the celery or the onions to do that. Like if I make something like this in a crock pot, I usually wait to put those in until like the last hour. Yeah, I'm feeling much better. I had a nice nap and I took a decongestant, and that helped clear my head. It's like I just like had so much pressure in my head. I didn't feel good. I don't know if I'm having like an allergy issue or if I'm having a cold. But I haven't seemed to have any of the other sort of achiness or that I tend to get with a cold. It's all just been in my head. Maybe it's all in my head. If I was doing this in the oven or on the stove top, I might have just put them in. With little potatoes like that, you can cook them pretty much in half an hour, maybe 20 minutes. It could be. It could be we've stirred up dust. Well, and I sort of came back from Austin with this, so I'm not sure if I was around somebody that had something, because there were people that were just like coughing and not covering it. It could be from the pollen out there, because the tree pollen was pretty high. I'm not sure. But the reason I'm cooking these potatoes separately is I thought that the pressure cooker would just murder them, and I don't think that would be good. I think it would be better with potatoes that are yeah, your eyes got really bad. So let's cook those potatoes. All right, I'm going to get a pot. I'm going to use kind of a deep pot. And you're going to look at me and say, why are you using that big pot for all that little bit of potatoes? And I'm going to tell you why. When you, well, you do in Florida and you do in a more temperate area. The pollen, so what got to him was cedar pollen, and there's a lot of cedar in the Austin area. So the reason I'm using this big pot that I'm only going to probably fill about halfway is because when you cook potatoes, they tend to sputter out water from the starch in the potato, and then it sticks to the stove and I have to scrape it off with a razor blade. You want to cover them with maybe an inch and a half of water. We'll put a little more in there. And then you want to start them in a cold pan. So I'm going to put this on this pot, on this burner here, and turn it on close to high. And with potatoes, anytime you cook potatoes, you should salt the water. Because this is the only chance you really get to season the potatoes through. So I'm going to put in about 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. And that'll get that water. And I'm gonna put this on just so the heat accumulates just a little bit. Oh yeah, like I've made mash. Well, these may not throw as much starch. Some of them, like if you do this with russet potatoes, those tend to leach off a lot of starch. This is more of what they refer to as a waxy potato, and that means it has more pectin. Excuse me. So, I guess we can have a talk about potatoes. In potatoes, you generally have, there are hundreds of varieties. In fact, where you live in the world may indicate what kind of potatoes you have. But generally, there are sort of 3 categories. You have a starchy potato, you have a sort of medium starchy waxy potato, and you have a waxy potato. And what makes the difference in those potatoes is there's starch, of course, and then there's pectin. I believe in potatoes it's called amylopectin, but I could be wrong. And so they all are pretty starchy vegetables. But the ones go on the waxier side, or the ones in the middle, think, if you want an example and you're in the U.S., you're probably going to see sort of like Idaho russets, the ones with the kind of rough skin. And when you cook them, they get sort of flaky and starchy. Not really flaky. Flaky isn't a good term, but I think you know what I mean. Then you have sort of the medium level potatoes, which can be what they call sometimes new potatoes, although those tends to go more waxy. Yukon Golds are what you usually see in the U.S. that are sort of touted as the all-purpose potato. However, if you're making mashed potatoes, I think you should use a starchy potato. I think the waxier ones don't make as good of a potato, but you can make a good sort of rough mash with a red potato. And the smaller ones are not quite as waxy as the big ones. I'm not sure if I really just told you any information that's salient, but that's what I'm going to go with. So these potatoes are sort of waxy. We found making good fluffy potatoes, it's good to boil them for 15 minutes, drain, and then give it an aggressive shake, I guess in the pan, to fluff them up before seasoning and popping in the oven. Oh, so you're par cooking the potatoes and then sort of beating them up and putting them. Are they little whole potatoes, or are they like potatoes cut up? See, for us, if you say roast potato, most of us are probably going to think of a baked whole potato. For like roasted potatoes, what we kind of do is usually these little red ones, or red potatoes that are cut into chunks. And you sort of oil them and season them and put them in the oven. Yeah, you're in Britain though, so I'm not sure what ones you've got there. All right. Let's check on this. It's heating up. That is the one thing about cooking in a pressure cooker, is you're never sure what it's doing. Mary's. I think you're getting a different variety there. I mean, classically, produce was seasonal here, and it's only become sort of not seasonal in my lifetime. Yeah, and you can get like purple ones. Potatoes originated from the Andes Mountains in South America, and they've been sort of bred into various cultivars throughout time and wherever they've gone. It's funny though, because potatoes were not in England or Ireland until probably the 1700s. It would have been after the Columbian Exchange, where stuff from the New World was brought to the Old World. Oh, okay. We do not have that many. We have what are referred to usually as either Idaho or Idaho russet potatoes, Yukon Golds, or red or white potatoes. That's, sometimes you get what's called new potatoes. I don't know if they're actually new. You can get some, like these red ones that I'm boiling are sort of more of a boutique. They only sell them in little bags and they're more expensive than just, large potatoes. You can get fingerling potatoes, which are long and finger-like. I don't know that I've seen new potatoes in the store in a while, but the store that you get here doesn't have a great selection of root vegetables. It's pretty much, you're going to find the most standard things you can get. All right. I mean, I guess I could look. Wait. I have, like, the world at my hands. Oh, I've got this AI thing. Where they're grown. Evidently, potatoes are America's number one vegetable crop. Russet, red, white, yellow, blue, purple, fingerling, and petite. Which is interesting because they don't list Yukon Gold. And I also know that people didn't want to eat potatoes, much for the same reason they didn't want to eat tomatoes, because they're related to nightshade. So here you either find potatoes loose or in bags. Typically, the bags, if they're small potatoes, are 1.5 pounds. And if they're large, they're going to be 5 to 10 pounds. Just waiting for things to happen. Whew. And I don't know how. Well, kilogram is larger than a pound, right? So that would be a large sack of potatoes. They'd probably be gigantic potatoes that were older. Yeah, I can't imagine what I would do with 55 pounds of potatoes. They would go bad before I could do anything with them. We don't. So, one of our kids just did not like potatoes unless they were French fries. It's starting to come up. Maybe turn it up a little bit. It's just starting to simmer. Yeah, but like if you get a 10-pound bag of Idaho potatoes, you can make mashed potatoes. You can make French fries. You can bake them. That's all I can really. Well, you could do something like really complicated, like slice them all very thinly and make like a casserole type of potato dish. I don't make hash browns usually. Twice baked potatoes. That's essentially mashed potatoes put back into a potato skin. Or, the really cheap ones are just instant mashed potatoes in a little paper cup kind of thing. All right. So that's starting to boil. We'll just boil those to their. Yeah, scallop potatoes are, but again, that's a lot of slicing. Yeah, mashed sweet potato. Well, it's funny with sweet potatoes. I want them with like cinnamon and sugar, so that kind of negates the nutritional power of them. Somebody left the empty box in the refrigerator. And you could serve this over. Well, you could eat it just as it is. You could serve it over. You blame J Fries for that. I'm not sure. I might have done it. I usually don't, but all right. So those are boiling. So that's good. Those should be ready about the time this is ready. Duh. I think it's funny, a lot of artists tend to initially hit with sort of an upbeat song or a song that's, faster. And then they tend to really hit with something more ballady. And I don't tend to love the ballads that much. But that's just me. Just want to stir them around so they get moved around. That had been in the roast, so it's got a little stuff on it. Maybe that'll flavor the potatoes. Oh, like I was saying, you could serve this over, rice, cooked rice, or you could boil some egg noodles. Sometimes what I like to do with this that's left over is sort of really thicken it and serve it over egg noodles. So when those are done, well, I Will Always Love You is actually a Dolly Parton song. And I don't know. I have sort of mixed feelings of Whitney Houston. Like, she was very talented, but the material she chose wasn't always what I liked. I just got a fork out to test the potato. Okay, so this is done, but we have a few more minutes. Probably about 15. And that's the time it takes to cool down, naturally. The natural release. Huh. Well, I mean, it's clear they don't think the children are our future anymore. So, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. That's true. I could just cook them and put them into the stew. I know. I know. I mean, I can tell that, like, learning to spell has gone away, kind of, with technology. It's funny because I can remember having a spell checker that would tell you that the word is wrong, but not tell you what it was. I don't remember what computer that was on or what software it was, but I remember it. I remember it, and like it was, I was so happy to have it, but then I had to look it up in the dictionary, which today probably seems ridiculous. And you know, I myself am sometimes troubled with what technology does to me. Like, it's amazing that I can do this and reach all of y'all from my kitchen. And I appreciate you all coming for that. But those short form videos are no joke, man. I can sit there and watch those for hours. It's just like a time vampire. And I don't like it about myself. I'm trying to sort of stay away from it. I'm just going to test one. No, that's not done yet. Let's see, I did this for what? 35 minutes. Let's see. Brown meat. And veg. Okay. I just was making notes for myself what I did. And it's during its cool down phase, and those potatoes should be ready soon. Yeah, you know, I often wonder. We've already had a number of sort of outages of things like AWS, and they've taken out whole swaths of platforms. Um, and I just wonder if people become dependent on that technology, what do they do with during those outages? Like there was, I don't know. I think it was on SNL and it was years ago, but it was like some morning program and the teleprompter started working and they like regressed into cavemen. And they were all freaking out that the teleprompter wasn't telling them what to say. And I just kind of wonder if that's what we're living in now. All right. These potatoes are cooking along. Got one here. It's kind of shiny because it's been boiling. No, that needs probably about... I should have put a timer on it, but probably about 5 or 10 more minutes. So it's good. Oh, wait, I wonder something. If I hit that, does it do anything? Oh, okay, it does. That is my my link tree to my social media, and this is my Discord, I think. Yeah, okay. My Stream Deck is saying command not found there, but the buttons work, so I don't know. This is the big problem with doing this kind of stream is that sometimes you just have these moments where you're just waiting for something to happen. And it's like, what do you do here? So I guess I talk about what kind of music I like or something. Oh, well, let me show you this stuff. I've got some sort of antique stuff here. I've collected these. My mother collected these things, and I had them in an old thing that I don't use anymore. Let's do this. There was a time when stuff came in a glass bottle, like an extract, or celery seed was sold in just a paper cardboard box. And they used to have little metal cans. These are store brands. This was Safeway's brand, I remember from my childhood. And Page was a A&P brand. And you had a little thing that slid on the top. And there's still allspice in there. I don't imagine it's very good, but it's still in there. I just thought that was neat. Now this is from before my time, because by the time I got here, these would have had plastic tops. I mean, you still do here sometimes. This was the brand that was like the brand we always bought when I was growing up, was Sours. And all of their extracts and everything came in this sort of funny little shouldered bottle. This is enough red dye to send the EU into apoplexy. I'm probably going to get rid of it, but I just thought I would share it because it's some sort of weird little thing that some people have probably never seen. Let's see how my potatoes are doing here. Just kind of want to be able... So they're probably just about done. I'm going to give them another minute. Yeah, so here they've started putting extracts into plastic. And I don't super love there were certain products you never got in plastic. Yeah, those I had in an old spice cabinet that I used to have that I didn't put my spices in anymore, so I put those in just as something sort of conversational. It's funny you say powdered mustard. Because I've got that one. Which still has mustard in it. It has a metal cap. Yeah, you can still buy Coleman's mustard today. Actually, this is this kind that I remember in the little tins, where they had a plastic cap, and so you'd flip one for going into it, and the other one would be to shake. Yeah, they probably sell. I think they went away from the tins because the tins became too expensive. The company that made that bottle of red food dye, Sours, they use little cans probably longer than anyone else. Yeah, these are done. So we're going to take these off the heat. And I'm going to take a couple pot holders and drain them into that colander I had them in. Let's do this. Let's turn that there, and we'll sort of dump the water through. I don't think I'll use the one that went into the drain. All right, so I'll put them back in the pan just to sort of dry them off. The heat in the pan should dry them off. This one fell in the drain, so I'm gonna throw it away. All right. So put it back on the heat for a minute just to dry them out. All right, that dried them off. We'll give them a little bit of salt and pepper. And maybe I'll mash them just a little bit. So we've got a potato masher here. What kind of popcorn did I enjoy growing up? Just the regular kind. I'm not going to really, I think I'll actually put them into a bowl and sort of mash them in the bowl. And the reason I want to do that is so they don't stick to the bottom of the pan. Well, for years, all I ever had was like made in a popcorn popper. And that was usually cooked in some oil. So I'm just going to smash these just a little. Those looked pretty smashed, but The only problem with these old kind of wire mashers is stuff gets stuck in the wires. All right. I just wanted them a little smushed. I don't know that I succeeded in that. Hold on a second. I want to move this camera just a little bit. I want to get just a piece of aluminum foil to put on top of them so they don't dry out. And they stay warm. So we've got those potatoes. Now we're just waiting on, and I'll put these on the warming eye. I've got an eye that just stays warm. And that bowl should be okay on that. All right. And I don't need this pot anymore. I don't need this fork anymore. Although I might use it. Act 2 popcorn. So I ate microwave popcorn later, and I never really loved microwave popcorn. And after I had an office job for the first time, I really didn't like microwave popcorn because people would burn it and then open it because they had bought it out of the vending machine. And I'm just like, if you burn that popcorn, you need to take it outside and throw it away. Nobody wants to smell that. We had a popcorn popper. It was a black base that plugged in. I think it had a Teflon coating. And it had a yellow clear plastic dome. And the dome had a place with little holes and like a plastic lid you could put on top of it. And you could put butter up there so it would drip on the popcorn, but we never did that. The only fat that was ever in the popcorn was the oil that we cooked it in, because you had to put a little bit of oil in it to transfer the heat into the kernels. Now I just cook it in a pan, basically the same way when we cook it. I've been told you can cook it in an Instant Pot, but I've never done it. Yeah, it's a smell that lingers all right. Like, some people like hot air popcorn, and I just always think it needs that little bit of oil or whatever to make it taste good, I think. I just don't think like the fake butter taste of microwave popcorn or the just sort of not taste you get in hot air popcorn. I don't think it's very good. However, it's all a subjective thing. Some people love to go to the movie theater and get that tub of popcorn. Well, it's not a tub anymore. It's probably just a bag. And they pour that goop over it, the butter flavored topping or whatever. And I don't super love that. Like, it's a bit much. But if you cook it with a little oil and salt it, I think that's pretty good. And they make here a special popcorn salt that's really fine. And we have some because Jay likes it. And but it's something you don't want to accidentally use on something else because it's so fine. It can be easy to overpour it. All right, this has been in the cooling stage for 19 minutes. So let's take a chance and see how it looks. Because it probably doesn't have much pressure left. A little bit. But not as much. The smell is good. I won't know what we're looking at. Here, I'll turn it back to this so you can see. I'll move this. All right. All right, so it's simmering still. That's good. I probably should have let it cook on its own some more, but let's give it a stir. See how it is. It smells good. The beef looks fork tender. Let's take a piece out and sort of see if we can split it with a fork, so that's good. I think this really just needs to be thickened. I know the carrots should be tender. Yeah, they are. And the onions are fine. They're just kind of loose. Maybe we eat them, maybe we don't. I don't know. So there's a bay leaf. I'll take the bay leaf out. We don't need that anymore. I think there's another one in here. Now this is a little soupier than you probably want it. However, we have ways to deal with that. All right. That makes sense. See how this liquid tastes. It's pretty good. I think it needs a little. Well, let's put it back on saute. And we're going to boil it off a little bit. My rosemaries have all softened, but they are big rosemary leaves. All right, we'll put in some pepper. And a little bit of salt. The problem with doing this in the pressure cooker is you don't get any reducing. So we'll reduce that a little bit. Well, yeah. I mean, you could do that with sugar as well. You could make finer sugar. Okay, so it's a little thick because the way the bubbles are sort of staying. If you were doing that with if you were doing that with just water, it wouldn't bubble like that. So we're going to give that a little moment to do that. And then we're going to thicken this with some cornstarch, I think. And the reason I'm using cornstarch is it'll give you a nice glossy sauce. And basically it's quick and easy. It just so happens, though, that what I need to get to is out of my way. Hold on a second. I have to go the other way. Boil that a little bit. One of these. I don't want a lid. All right. I was standing in front of my monitor trying to get into a cabinet that's basically behind y'all. So I have a little plastic container. Give this a little stir. While that's simmering, we're going to make a cornstarch slurry. If I can find it. There it is. Like I said, I redid this pantry, so. So we've got a fair amount of liquid here, so we want to thicken it up some. It's not a lot, but stew is, you want stew to be thicker. So into my little plastic container here, I'm going to take some cornstarch. Maybe about a tablespoon and a half of cornstarch. Now, a lot of people would tell you to put this into a bowl and whisk it with a little tiny whisk or a fork. The best thing I've ever seen that I can do for this is to take a little plastic container, put the water and the cornstarch in, make sure it's sealed, and just shake it. Hey, Seal Papa. Thanks for coming in. All right. So that is turned into a slurry. So since this liquid is boiling, we're going to stir this in as I pour it in. And like magic, it is now thicker. You can hear this change in sound. Everything is sort of covered with it. I'm trying to decide if I want it thicker, but this will thicken as it cools. Turn the heat off. I might give it a little more. Just a little. Yep, I think that's about it. All right. We're just going to taste it. Check for seasoning. Now it's got it's got nappe. You can draw a line into it with the with your finger on the back of a spoon. Tastes delicious. I don't think it needs any more salt or pepper. All right. So I'm going to take this out just so it doesn't keep boiling. And I'll push this off here. So I'm gonna plate it up. We got 2 bowls here. Ooh. Putting it on that warming iron made it hot. All right. Got our potatoes. So I'll take a spoon and I'll put down a bed of potatoes. They're a little dry, but the stuff will moisten them. I think I have a little more than you're going to want, but we'll just put them in there. All right, that's one, and put these in here. And that. And I'm going to take the sort of smushed parts, put those in there. All right, so that's those potatoes. Hey, Play It Jason, how are you? Thanks for coming in. So, this was a totally off-the-cuff sort of thing I made. It's just like I needed to make dinner. And you can see that's thickened up while sitting there just from cooling. So I'll get this, whatever this thing is, and we'll put some on it. Now, you know, I did forget something, and it's probably too late for me to do it. I was going to put in some peas for color, but there's no color here. All right, so that's it. That is beef stew with boiled potatoes, made in a pressure cooker. Will it be the best beef stew that you've ever had? Probably not. Will it be the quickest beef stew that's acceptable and you will probably enjoy it? Yes. And the last thing I'll do to it is give it a little bit of ground pepper. Okay, we'll take the picture. Oh my God. Why is it when you open your phone, you get a bunch of things pop up? I just want to use my phone. All right. Yeah, I guess this will have to do it. All right. I got a couple pictures. I'll put that there. So as always, you know, we're going to eat this now. I'm Neil. This is Neil's Meals. Tonight we've made pressure cooker beef stew. I'll make real beef stew one day on here, but this is, you know, a good sort of middle of the week kind of approximation. I want to thank all of y'all for coming. Thanks to Rhino Assault for your gift subscriptions, and to Pass for his subscription. Thank you to everyone who's enjoyed this. I always want to make cooking approachable. As always, I will post this video and the recipe to my Discord, and my Discord is right here. And also my other socials are right there. Play it, Jason. I'm glad you were able to make it in. If we ever see you in person, I might make it for you. We're going to find someone to raid out to because, like always, this is just sitting here cooling. And let me go back to this and do raid. And we'll go to I think I'm going to send you to these people we met in at TwitchCon. They do real life streaming, and they're very interesting. They streamed their whole life coming back from San Diego, and they appear to be cooking Salisbury steak poutine in a garage. So I think we're going to raid them. They're really nice people. I hope you enjoy it. As always, I'm Neil's Meals. Go get yourself something good to eat and take care of yourself. I love you all. Bye.